it was costing us $40,000 a year in FPOS fees. If we can keep that at zero, that's $40,000 extra you don't have to pay for meat. Just over the Christmas period alone was $6,000 saving in fees for us.
This is the Australian Butchers Guild podcast, brought to you by Meat and Livestock Australia, the podcast for passionate butchers.
G'day and welcome to the 25th episode of the Australian Butchers Guild podcast. I'm your host, Doug Piper. I'd just like to say a big thanks to everyone for tuning into the podcast over the past year or so, and for the great feedback as we go around Australia talking to butchers. I've enjoyed learning what makes butchers get out of bed in the mornings and how they are growing and managing their businesses. I hope you're enjoying the podcasts, and don't forget to click follow on the podcast page. I'm catching up with a butcher I met in the late 1990s. His name's Rob Constable. Robert and I worked for a large supermarket chain there for quite a while, then eventually went our separate ways. And over the years, Rob's owned a number of butcher shops in the Hunter Valley and right up the north coast to Foster. His specialty is a particular breed of cattle which he's going to talk about today called Speckle Park beef. And the cattle are grown on his family's properties in the Hunter Valley. If Rob's not in his shop, he's either on the farm or looking after his cattle or working on behalf of butchers as National Chairman of the Australian Meat Industry Retail Council. So sit back and keep cutting and listen in. Welcome, Rob.
G'day, mate. How are you?
I'm going well. How are you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you.
Where are you today?
I'm just sitting down the park here in downtown Singleton, just for a quiet spot, a bit away from the bandsaw and mincer and noisy butchers.
Yeah, it's always the way, isn't it? You want a little bit of quiet time, and next thing you know, all of a sudden they decide, it's a good time to make sausages or start breaking up the lambs.
Yeah, and you end up sort of running out of the office and shushing them and carrying on there. They don't like that much.
I know. So, Robbie, your history in the Hunter Valley, you've had quite a few shops over the years, and you've got a very good reputation up there. So you're down to the one shop now for a lot of reasons, like labour, and grey hairs growing. So how are you finding trade these days?
Oh, really good, mate. Yeah, we can't complain at all. I'm really happy with how things have turned out. We built the new shop here in Singleton 9.5 years ago now. Time goes by, but we had some teething issues like everyone does in the early days, and Coles and Aldi opened up in the town sort of about a month after we opened, but we sort of had a pretty strong foot in the town as it was. So all in all, we've gone strength to strength, and probably looking at the sales the shop was doing 2016 to today, we've almost doubled 2016 sales.
Wow, what do you put that down to?
Oh, just doing a better job, mate. I think, butchering's a bit like dairy farming or any of those things. You just got to get up every day and just try and go better every day. And I think I've just gotten better with the team too. As much as we've had massive turnover over those years in team members, I think who you do get, you just tend to put more time into and more effort. And my cranky and frustrated years were probably somewhere between 28 years of age through to around about 40, now just about 47. So well and truly started to mellow in the last few years, and very rarely now do I sort of even get aggravated as such in the shop, no matter what's going on. So I think my temperament helps. At the moment we've got 5 apprentices in the shop, which is unprecedented for me. Like when we had 6 stores, we had 9 apprentices back then. To say there's 5 in one shop now sounds a bit silly to me, but it's a way we've had to go. I think not knocking the average butcher out there, but sometimes you get problems. Sometimes you get problems when you hire. There might be someone else's problem that you've taken on, and I just think, like, if you can train your own people, yes, they'll leave you. Of course they will. If they're any good, though, of course they'll leave you. But just keep bringing them on. I think that might be the only answer at the moment.
That's for sure. It's very hard to find a good butcher. Most good butchers are quite happy where they are. Like exceptional butchers are very happy, and they're well looked after by their employer at the time. But bringing on new blood into the industry, how have you managed that? That would have been a little bit difficult, do you think, or have you been lucky in just going through a really good stage to get all the young people through?
No, actually the opposite. Gone through a really bad stage. So probably let's call it 12 months ago, we lost 25 years worth of experience out of our business in the space of 6 weeks. One jumped ship, and then you see sort of the other one starting to squirm and he or she jumps ship as well. So it's sort of the opposite. We've done that out of having to do it more than anything. So no, it's been a extremely trying time, but luckily I like going to work, and luckily I've got a beautiful wife at home that she also has a very strong work ethic. So we don't really talk about whether Dad's getting a day off anymore. It's just when it happens, it happens. And lucky I've got a good casual that went to the mines, and he has come back and gives me a day off.
So how did you go about attracting the apprentices into the trade? Did you go to the schools, or was it like a TAFE or something like that? Or
3 that we've got are through the school. The whole 3 of them either started or still are at school. So we've got a bloke that goes into his 3rd year in March, and he was a clean-up kid at the shop and showed interest. So then I grabbed him 1 day a week. So he did a proper apprenticeship through the school, and he worked 1 day a week. Then we brought on another girl from a separate high school. She did the same thing. She just came on permanent just before Christmas as soon as school finished. And now we've got another one from the original school that the first fella came from that comes 1 day a week. And the other 2 are mature aged.
okay,
One bloke done a boiler making apprenticeship, and he's 32, so he got out of that and came into butchering. And the other fella was 14 years working in the deli at Woolies.
okay, so a little bit of food knowledge there.
Yeah, a bit of food knowledge, but also a lot of life knowledge, like he's 42. So, so we've got a bit of a mixture.
It's good that you've been able to fill up those gaps and also bringing other tradespeople into the trade. So you're still using cattle off your own property?
Yeah, some from my place out the road here, and about every other week from mum and dad's off their property. We've done that since 2003, so we've been in this business for 20 years now. So yeah,
The breed you're selling at their Speckle Park.
yeah, bit of history there. Dad and a bloke that people would know by the name of John Quayle, who used to be the boss of the ARL in the day back in the Super League days, played for Eastern Suburbs Roosters. Dad and him, he'd moved up to Denman area in the Hunter Valley, and Dad and he went into business and bought a Speckle Park bull that had just been reserve champion at Melbourne Royal, and they bought that bull and then started off back then in 2007. Quayle has long since now been bought out of that business, and Dad's sort of on his own, but Dad's got a stud, which I don't. We could probably have around about 100 stud cattle, run a couple of 100 commercial cows, all joined to the Speckle Park bulls. So we don't accept anything in the shop unless it's at least first cross. And that's where we've gone. I mean, before that we had Charolais bulls, and then after that we had Limousin bulls, but we've stuck with the Speckles ever since 2007. So I can't get a boning yield out of anything else as good as what they bone. Their bone structure is way smaller than any other animal. We've done tests on equivalent 240 kilo bodies out of a Angus Charolais cross versus a Angus Speckle Park cross, and the femur bone itself can be up to 800 grams lighter.
Wow.
And it's an interesting thing. I've been singing this to the rooftops, for a long time about that they're flat bone cattle, that they've got a small bone structure for what they carry around in meat. But no one listens, because when the farmer sends his cattle to the abattoirs, he gets paid for the whole carcass. But I believe that's going to change with DEXA and all the different things that are really coming in, because the abattoirs are actually going to pay on yield. And eventually, if they're clever, they will anyway, because why would they be paying for all the bone when you can get this extra meat? And anyway, in a butcher shop situation, as you know, as good as anyone knows, it's all about yield. And if you put enough bodies through a shop and you can get an extra, 3 or 4% yield, well, you're making more money.
Yeah, that's incredible. They're a beautiful looking animal. The coat is just magic. Some of them you see out there, and all the different colour, the motley colours that they have. Are they a placid animal? They look like quite a placid animal.
Oh, like anything, and my dad will tell you, there's good and bad cattle in all cattle. The naysayers tried to put around that they were a bit stirry a few years ago. I could walk up and pat my bull at home. We don't see that at all. We don't see the stirriness in them at all. They go back to the heritage breed. They go back to the shorthorn. The nice proper, what I call the proper Aberdeen Angus, which is not that rangy American style sort of Angus, but the proper Scottish Angus, and the British White Park, which are all, they're all placid cattle. So that's the 3 animals that they are derived from to come up with the Speckle Park. And I mean, there's nothing else that we've found that will, at 12 months of age, start to marble on grass. And they do. And we've run through Sarah Strawn. Years back, we ran some trials in Queensland on these when we fed cattle. And still to this day, if anyone wants to look it up, the trial on those cattle stands in front of any animals that have ever been slaughtered as far as MSA goes.
Really?
It's very, very good meat. And all we need to do is get more and more bulls out there so that all the butchers can enjoy the quality of meat.
Obviously, the marbling is a big thing, obviously, for the flavour and the tenderness and the juiciness. What other characteristics does it have? Just a specific flavour, or is it just a nice subtle flavour of beef?
Oh, look, I think you'd be having yourself on to say that you could distinctly taste a different flavour. I believe that, cattle are what they eat. Last season, we had an extremely good season up in this area, as a lot of people will know, and we had, ryegrass and clover sort of 1.5 foot high, and when the meat came into the shop, what you could taste is ryegrass and clover. I'm not sure that the average punter on the street knew that that's what it was, but that's definitely what I could taste in the meat.
Yeah.
So I don't know that any animal physically, tastes different to beef, but there's certainly the way you feed, and what we've learnt over the years is that a bit of both worlds is the best. The bit of best out of the both worlds, as far as a little bit of pellets and a little bit of grass, so they get their pasture but have the pellets there to top them up. I think the new word out now is grain assisted, and I'm pretty sure we actually touted that word. It might be as many as 20 years ago. We were calling our cattle grain assisted. Have them in a paddock of maybe anywhere from 50 to 200 acres with a feed bin in the paddock, so they can go off and lay around the creek and have a drink and have a feed of grass, and then come back to the trough and have some pellets just to top them up and finish them off. And I think that's our key. When people come into the shop, they come in and they ask for the Speckle Park beef. You know what they're there for. Kilo-wise, the other major protein being lamb in the shop would probably outsell it 5 to 1, if not more.
Wow.
In our stores. So we have really strongly focused on beef.
It's a big part of the butcher's range, isn't it? We do reports with butchers around the place, and we're finding beef generally equates to around about anywhere from 40 to 60% of their total sales. It's such a big part of their business.
Well, I mean, look, you've got to make sausages, and say for this store here, we'd be making around about 1,200 kilos of sausages a week. So that's a big sum straight away. You're 1.2 tonne just in sausages, and then you've got to sell all the other bits and pieces, because obviously we have our own cattle, so we're on body beef, with some carton top-ups of things if we need them, mainly being trim and briskets and all those things that are popular these days. I think it took time. It takes time to develop. It's the same as your own brand in a butcher shop. Like, I don't think at year number 2, you've got your name out well enough in a business to say that you're rooted in an area sort of thing, rooted down in an area. But I think at year number 10, I reckon that's about when your business kicks in. And I can tell you at year 20, we've never seen it brighter. So I think if you just keep putting in that effort every day and putting your best foot forward, this town's only got 23,000 people in it. Big Woolies, big Coles, Aldi here, and other shops or other butcher shops obviously in town. I think today we would look as good as from anywhere from Cobar to Sydney in between, you know what I mean? We'd look as good as any other shop when we're filled up of a morning and ready to go. So I think it's just putting in the effort, having the range. We do catering. There's a lot of different things I probably could have jumped on and I haven't jumped on, but I just have always had this feeling that staying traditional in a shop is what's going to get you through in the end. There's many different things we could have jumped on along the way, and I've not really seen any of those things other than probably having a chef in store. That would probably be the only thing that I've seen really progress and blokes make a quid out of. But I just think stay true to yourself, stay true to your product, and get enough for your product too. Look for every bit of yield and everything you can get, and get your price and sell good quality.
Your main competitor is one of the, like in the same shopping centre, is that a Woolworths or a Coles next to you?
Woolworths, yeah.
How do you stack up? I know price isn't always everything. A lot of butchers always sort of in the past have tried to compete with the supermarkets, and I think that's the wrong thing to do. Don't compete on price. Compete on the things that you're strong on, like your service, your knowledge, your quality, all that is what a lot of people look for these days, especially the knowledge, because as you know, like we've got generations of people coming through now, or youngsters that aren't taught how to cook. They eat McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Pizza, whatever. You put a kilo of mince in front of them and say, do something with this, and the first thing they've got to do is jump on Google to find out what to do with it. So, it's so important to not concern yourself. Be concerned about what they're doing, but don't compete with them.
I would agree, and this might sound a bit slack, but I actually couldn't tell you what they're doing in there because I don't actually go in and have a look. I mean, I will have a look from time to time, different packaging and different things that they're using. And as you know, and yours and my history goes back into working for some of these companies. Don't get me wrong, there's some really good things they do, and there's some really ordinary things they do, but I definitely don't look at price. And generally, if you think about price, if you called our product a premium range product, so everything we sold was a premium range product, I would say that we would compete well and truly on their premium range product. Not on the commodity item, but on the premium, we definitely hold our head up on those, those single packed, whatever brand, thick cut Scotch fillets or whatever they may be, with the cardboard behind them and shrunk down on we definitely compete on price on any of that sort of thing. I also think that, not telling anyone how to suck eggs, but I also think that having to sell every bit of meat off a body, at the end of the day, that makes you money. And gives you flexibility because you have to sell everything off that side of beef. Whereas, if rump was the thing that people wanted, I'd be ordering more rumps in, but it might be at the disadvantage of another cut that I haven't really pushed or tried to make a dollar out of. So I think that's another advantage the butchers have still will and always will have, while ever someone wants to lump beef anyway. We'll always have over the supermarkets as far as, we have to clear every item at a price, So at the end of the day, I think there's going to be more margin in our product than what they'll ever be able to achieve.
Oh, definitely. They're struggling to meet margins where they are. It's good to keep an eye on what they do because they invest a lot of money into research and development of products and that. And if they kick on something, they find something that's going to sell well, then they will obviously continue on doing it. And it does take them a long time to build up a lot of those sort of projects that they're doing on the different products and the different cooks things they do. So if you're watching what they're doing, it takes you a day or two to get the stock in to start creating something that they have just started doing. So if it's successful for them, it'll be successful for you, and it gives you another part of your range to offer the customers to try to keep them coming back to you or to sway them back.
Yeah, for sure.
Mate, I was keen to listen to what I think Rodney Sellers said on the weekend. He was talking about FPOS. Have you got the same system as what Rodney's using at the moment?
Yeah, I think we might have been on it for about 6 weeks or something before Rodney took it on.
Right.
Yeah, Smart Pay it's called, the one that we're with. I think there might be a couple of them. Yeah, I mean, it sort of stems back to the old days. Originally, when people used their credit cards or their Visa card, you would see on your statement each month account keeping fees. It might be $6 or $8 or something like that, account keeping fees. Then the banks bought out, fee-free accounts. Everyone who's got a card, they don't pay fees on their account. So what happened was the owner or the charge was on the business who held the FPOS. So what SmartPay's done is they've done a deal with the banks, obviously, to say that we will run a FPOS machine that is fee-free to the business, and the 30 cents gets charged to the customer. And you tell them that up front. It's on the counter. You let them know. You can tell the story any way you want. It was costing us $40,000 a year in FPOS fees, terminal costs, FPOS fees, all the rest. If we can keep that at zero, that's $40,000 of extra you don't have to pay for meat because we don't have to charge more for our meat. It's excellent, and can tell you that just over the Christmas period alone, so that 30 days across December, was somewhere in the vicinity of 6,000 saving in fees for us.
That's huge, isn't it? Like, that's a lot of money going out the door. So, if the butchers are out there that are still stuck doing the original way where they're getting charged hand over fist for transactions, you want to jump onto something like this. It's always good to have a look outside of what you're doing, isn't it? It's a bit like electricity, isn't it? You never know what's around until you actually start having a look. It might seem difficult to change, to swap over, But by crikey, when you're looking at a $40,000 a year in your pocket rather than theirs, that's a big difference.
Yeah, as long as you put through 10,000 a month through a terminal, you get the terminal for free as well. So there's absolutely no upfront, no monthly, no nothing. You'll never see a fee. And I've noticed too that they have a shopkeeper of the month, and they give away. I think I saw someone won the other day for the month $5,000.
Wonder if you get that from the bank.
Oh, not likely.
Oh, mate. Oh, that's great. Look, I hope a lot of butchers find that very interesting, because I know if I was in business, I'd certainly be looking at that, at Smart Pay, that's for sure. Also, Rob, in your spare time, you spend a lot of time supporting industry and butchers alone at AMIC. You're the national chairman for the Retail Council. Appreciate all the hard work that you do there. I know it's a big chunk of your time each week dealing with policy and whatnot in the industry. So what's your take on AMIC at the moment and where they're heading? And anybody out there that's not aware who AMIC is, how do they learn more about what you guys do?
Oh, it's the age-old thing, isn't it? What does anyone do for you? You know, I always look at it as if the average membership in AMIC, I think anywhere between $500 and $800 a year, which is 100% tax deduction. So realistically, it's zero. The benefits have been, just, some of the benefits. I'll read off some of the benefits as far as partners that we have. You can get a cheaper energy deal with Energy Australia. Marsh Insurance, which is the biggest insurer globally, is right into looking at comparing your insurance policy and making it cheaper for you. You've got CBA FBOS deals. I know we've just been talking about FBOS, but there is a Butcher's FBOS deal if you're an AMIC member that is cheaper again. Then we've got the, HRIR, the Human Resources and Industrial Relations Hotline, which is just unbelievable these days. Make your phone call, ask your question, get your answer. Simple as that. Help you out with wages, help you out with getting rid of someone that's been a bit of trouble, help you out with employing someone that you need. Lots of different aspects. You can enter your apprentice in Apprentice of the Year. We're constantly, as you know, working with MLA on only the butcher channel. That's all we focus on, is what butchers want. And, I've got to commend MLA over the years as far as saying, well, this is where our bread and butter is. And, when you see an MLA commercial now and it's very butcher shop centric, well, I hope I've been a part in helping that. Not by jumping up and down and say we don't want to see supermarkets or whatever, but just through the fact of the grassroots of the whole thing. And I think that's what a consumer wants to see, is the butcher front and centre. Even if they don't come to us all the time for their meat, every customer at the butcher shop is a customer at the supermarket, but vice versa. At some stage, you will get them in your store and you get that chance to turn their life around and make them want to shop there all the time. But yeah, look, we've got lots of different things going on. Probably that training's the number one thing that we want to be involved in. And down at Adelaide on the weekend at the Nationals, I believe we took 3,000 photos and 36 hours of video, which is going to get turned into, I don't even know the right word, I'll call it propaganda, for apprentices into the TAFEs all around Australia and into high schools and things like that. Now, that's another initiative that we've been pushing for years. So hype reels, they're called. Hype reels. We've just made some large investments in the food safety program across Australia. Firstly, in Victoria and Queensland, we've spent about $36,000 on helping rewrite the new food safety program, just tidying it up. We've got all that just about ready to go, and also trialling, I believe, a online platform style, have a tablet in your shop and just tap on the buttons each morning to fill your log out, so you don't have to have that sort of scrappy book there getting dirty and all the rest in the shop. Also working on a $75,000 grant in New South Wales, firstly in New South Wales, for a women in trade. So that's a big focus. The government's put up a grant for organisation to sort of pilot the pushing of girls to come into the butchering trade. Yeah, no, we've got a lot going on all the time.
There's a lot going on behind the scenes and what the butchers always see and hear about. So, and these things just don't magically all of a sudden happen. There's a lot of work going in before it actually gets to fruition. So well done to yourself and to your colleagues at AMIC for supporting the industry and looking at ways of making it better and also getting more people into the industry. Because you look at a lot of the socials these days, and there are just so many women throughout the world that are butchers. And in Australia too, we've come across a lot. And I know our good mate Luke Leeson he does the Meetup podcast. He goes out and finds all these women, whether they're in butchery or whether they're doing game or barbecue, but they are in the meat industry and they love it. And it's such a great career, I think. And there's all sort of areas of the industry that you can go into. You just don't have to be stuck behind a butcher shop counter or working in a butcher shop there. You can go into a lot of different areas these days.
Well, my three girls all work in the shop with me of a weekend. And the youngest one, Nellie, she's 11 and she's in the shop. And she's quite a very tall 11-year-old. Yeah, she said to me on the weekend, "Oh, Dad, thanks for showing me how to steel a knife and how to net those hams today. I think I'm going to be a butcher." So I got one starting uni this week in law, and one that thinks in year 11 or 12 that thinks she's going to be a doctor, and now this one wants to be a butcher. So I don't know which one I'm going to be more proud of.
Yeah, that's great. It's good to hear that they've all got sort of aspirations there, and as far as back into the trade, following Dad's footsteps. How does Megan feel about that?
Oh no, she doesn't care. She just whatever they want to do, she's happy with that. Yeah,
good stuff, mate. Well, mate, listen, thanks a lot for your time today. Really appreciate it. I know you got a lot on. You got to get back to the shop now. You've had your lunch break down there in the park. So really good to catch up with you the other weekend in South Australia, and congratulate AMIC on the great job that they did there at the Nationals and what they're doing for trade. I'm sure a lot of butchers out there really appreciate it as well. So I'll look forward to catching up with you again in the not so distant future.
Thanks, mate, and we appreciate all your support and all the butchers out there support too. Thank you.